So in this video, I want to show you exactly why the news can be so toxic to your brain. And let's start off with a real simple question. So in the English language, are there more words that begin with the letter K or more words that have K as the third letter? So let's ponder this. Okay. If you're like most introductory psych students, which of course is where most of our data comes from, you probably thought there were far more words in the English language that start with the letter K. And of course, that's wrong. In fact, there are about 3 times as more words in the English language that have K as a third letter. The problem is that the brain is wired to deal with what's available to it. In fact, we even call this the availability heuristic. And it's real easy to generate words with K as the first letter, very difficult to generate or make available words with K as the third letter. So this makes perfect sense when we take the brain in terms of its original environment. So let's go back 100,000 years ago when we were in small groups of about 100 to 150. Anything that happened in that little group was really important. So anything, and of course it was available. So if Joe went off and taunted a bear and then got attacked, the brain hardwired um, uh, its system to respond to this. And in neuroscience, we call this, there's a phrase that neurons that fire together wire together. So you created a memory that don't taunt the bears. That's a really bad thing. And that really helped us survive. Here's the problem. Now we've got this outdated system in our skull that suddenly is exposed to 7.5 billion points of data when it was only meant for about 100 to 150 points of data. It's like taking Windows 10 and trying to download it on some computer from the 80s. It just doesn't work. And so it's still thinking in the old mode. So it treats everything that happens across these 7.5 billion data points as if it were one of the 100 to 150. So this morning I was looking at an article and I saw a very tragedy, an unfortunate situation where a young person had died from the disease. I could feel my brain responding because my brain was responding in exactly the same way it would 100,000 years ago. Now, what's the take-home message from all this? Be careful what you feed your brain. Your brain is living in a world, an ancient world, a long time ago, and it was never built for the 7.5 billion data points. So be really careful of what goes into it. Now, you can take as many positive stories as you want, and you can feed the brain with as many uh, stories about 102-year-old grandmother beats the virus. Those are great. Your brain is going to respond to those in a completely different fashion. So those you can just feed it like calorie-free, gluten-free pieces of information. You can feed your brain all of those you want. But be very careful of the negative stuff. Um, because the brain's going to treat it in a completely different way. And the irony of all this, of course, is once we get past the brain, and this is something for a bunch of other videos I'm going to do, but once we get past the brain, we'll see actually the one thing that does connect us all, and that's consciousness itself. But like I said, that's for a different video. So be careful what you're feeding your brain.